Hey everybody, Tim Rickman here for the 6th episode of How to Design Origami with Box Pleating. I'll be showing you how to divide the paper into different number box grids, thirds, fifths, sevenths, and ninths. One way to get different number box grids is to create a grid that's larger than what you need and trim off the excess. But we want to be able to maximize the area of our paper. Also, you want to be able to tailor a specific grid for your design, rather than trying to confine your design to a grid you're familiar with. For example, this is a 224 box grid I have set up with the paper in diamond position that I'm going to be using for a 5-headed Hydra design that I've been working on. I'll also be showing you guys how to set these up in diamond position as well as book. Just by learning how to divide the paper into thirds, fifths, sevenths, and ninths, you're going to be able to use a much wider variety of box grids. And there are ways to divide the paper even further into 11ths, 13ths, and so on, and I'll leave a link in the video description below of a website that teaches some of those. But for now, this is going to give you a lot more to work with than the standard 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128 that you may already be familiar with. If you guys are enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I also love to read your comments. Let's start by dividing the paper into thirds. You're going to begin dividing the paper into thirds by dividing the paper in half diagonally. Next, we're going to divide the paper in half horizontally. Bring the bottom raw edge to the top. Next, we're going to make a line that travels from this corner to where this horizontal crease touches the edge of the paper. And we're going to do that on this bottom panel as well, where this horizontal crease touches the edge of the paper down to this bottom corner. And you should be going over the crease that's running diagonally. This corner is going to touch the diagonal line above it, which might help you line one of them up. Now, where these creases cross the diagonal we made, it's going to give us 2 reference points, here and here. The distance between the raw edge and that is 1/3 of the paper. So we're going to bring the raw edge of the paper up to this reference point. And we're going to make a line that travels through our reference point down here. And you can either unfold the paper and do the same thing, or you can turn the paper over and bring the bottom raw edge to the folded edge you just made. And to get your pleats going the other way, you're just going to use the same reference points. Bring the raw edge to this reference point. Make sure that the edges of your paper are lining up so that you know your crease is straight across the paper. And that's how you divide a square into equal thirds. From this, we can further divide down each of these panels and rows to get 6ths, 12ths, 24ths, 48ths, and so on. Now let's divide our paper into fifths. You're going to bring the bottom raw edge to the top. and make a crease along the center, and then do the same thing going the other direction. Now we're going to make creases similar to how we did in thirds by coming from this corner to where this crease touches the edge over here. I'm going to be careful to get that right into that corner. And now do the same thing down here. And kind of get the angle right by bringing this corner to that crease to help you get it started. Roll the paper over until you're sure that it's in the right position, and then press down firmly. Now we're going to turn the paper a quarter turn and make another set of diagonal creases. This corner down here and this corner down to here. You can now use the creases made in your last set to help line these up, because they'll fall on top of one another. What we now have is a set of 4 reference points where all of those creases intersect, that we can use similarly to how we made our 3x3 grid to divide the paper into fifths. So bring the bottom raw edge up to this reference point, and the line is going to pass through this one. Use the outside raw edges to make sure that your paper is straight up and down, and make a firm crease. Now we're going to fold through this reference point, and we're going to bring the raw edge up to this reference point here. And to continue folding this, just turn the paper around and do the same thing on the other side. Bring this up to the second reference point, folding through the first, bring this up to the fourth reference point, folding through the second. And the other way is the same thing. Come up to this reference point. Now we have the paper divided into fifths, and from this point we can make a grid of 10 by 10, 20 by 20, 40 by 40, 80 by 80, 160 by 160, and so on. Now I want to show you guys how to divide the paper into sevenths. This is my favorite division. I don't know why, but it tends to show up a lot in my designs. So you're going to begin by folding the paper diagonally. And then in half horizontally. Now you're going to do your divisions of thirds. We're going to use those divisions of thirds, turn the paper a quarter turn, to make tiny reference points along the edge of the paper, but not a full line all the way through. So bring your paper up to this reference point, line everything up, and just along the outside edges, make 2 tiny marks there and there. And do the same thing on the other side. There and there. And what you're going to do is make diagonals that travel through these 2 lines here down to this corner. This one's a little more tricky because it's right in the middle of the paper, that middle third, but it should travel through that central reference point too, which kind of helps. Turn the paper around and do this last one here. And now what we have is a set of 6 reference points here, 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 and here, where these 3 diagonal lines cross these 2 diagonal lines. And similarly, we use them to make our pleats. I think you guys should probably have the hang of how to use these reference points to find your grid by now, if you've seen the other 2 examples. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like once it's all folded down. Here's our completed 7x7 grid. From this you can get to 14ths, 28ths, 56ths, 1/12ths, 112th by 112ths, and so on. Next, we're going to take a look at how to divide the paper into ninths. And if you compare this to our 3x3 grid, you can see that some of these lines line up with the grid in our 9x9. So pretty much we're going to divide each of the rows and panels in our 3x3 grid by 3. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to use the same set of creases that we used to make our 3x3 pattern and shrink it down into just one of these boxes to get reference points to be able to fold these into thirds, and then we'll be able to do the whole thing like that. So let's go ahead and make our diagonal. And now we'll fold this in half. Just go ahead and go all the way across the paper. We should already have a reference line here, but this is how you would make that. Like so. And then again, one just inside this box here. Like that. And now we have 2 reference points that will allow us to divide this into thirds. You can do one on the other side too if you want some help lining this up. I just use the outside edge of my model of the paper to make sure everything is lined up. And then you just fold the folded edge you just made to the crease in your 3x3 grid. Okay, you're going to use this to divide the outer set of boxes into thirds all the way around. So now we have a 3x3 grid that has all of these horizontal and vertical rows divided into thirds each. But we still have to do this middle row and this middle column here. And the way to do that is to bring this raw edge up to the very top pleat up here. And then that divided made a third here. And then you just turn the paper over and do the same thing. Bring the bottom raw edge up to this top crease here. Okay, now this middle row is divided into thirds, and just do that same thing. And now we have the paper divided into ninths. And from this point, you can divide the paper down into 18ths, 36ths, and so on. Okay, what I want to show you guys now is how to divide the paper into a grid if you want the paper positioned in diamond position. So let me take a look at our 3x3 grid. So we have the paper divided horizontally and vertically into thirds here, you can see. But we also have it divided into thirds going along this diagonal. This is the same distance as this. So once we have all these reference points set up, if we want to use a grid on a diamond position paper that's in thirds, or a set of thirds, all we have to do is use this reference point and start making our creases diagonally. Now it's divided into thirds this way, and start to divide in half all of these. And this is how you divide the paper into these grids on a diagonal basis. Alright, that's it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.